Hey everybody, Rachel Mikulov here from Empire Tax Professionals. I'm the CEO of Empire Tax Professionals, and I'm also licensed by the IRS, licensed in 50 states, and like I mentioned, a CEO. So wants to go over a few things because we've been speaking to a lot of clients this week and actually thousands of clients all year round, and wants to share the key specific things that we're seeing consistently that are incorrect and that's costing clients, business owners specifically, thousands of dollars in taxes. I have a few horror stories to share, and if you're an Amazon seller, you may want to listen to this because it's just, we're seeing consistent things, and I want to share it with the world because nobody's really talking about this. You can't even find these issues and problems in Google or on Facebook. Nobody's really talking about it, and this needs to be told to business owners, specifically for Amazon sellers, digital marketers as well. So story number one, we had an Amazon seller come to us last week who making $500,000 annually, had a bookkeeper, I don't know if it was a data entry person, a VA, I'm not really sure, but the bookkeeper was on the line, and she was responsible for reconciling statements, making sure everything, doing all the data entry, entering all the expenses into their Xero account. And then they also had a CPA who would work with them to prepare their returns at the end of the year. And they had a payroll software, a payroll company, processing their payroll and everything. So this entity was a single member LLC. Actually, I'm sorry, no, it wasn't. It was a few partners. It was a multi-member LLC. And since they hired a payroll company, they were processing payroll for the partners. And if you're a multi-member LLC, it is illegal for you to process payroll. And they came to us because we advertised on Facebook that we were doing a free review for bookkeeping. And when we did a free review in their bookkeeping, they had the books were wrong. Like a lot of accounts were not reconciled. And payroll was filed for the partners, and they were not supposed to process payroll for any of the partners because, like I mentioned before, if you're a multi-member LLC, it is illegal for you to be on payroll. You're supposed to just give yourself a check as a draw, and that would be it. Only if you're a multi-member LLC taxed as an S corp, you could be on payroll. So it was just, the bookkeeper was just shocked. She doesn't know tax laws. The CPA was not aware that this was happening because all she was getting was the W-2s at the end of the year. And the Amazon sellers were just so shocked, and they're like, oh my God, how come nobody told me this? Not only that, they were not registered for Department of Labor, for payroll. They misclassified a few 1099s, independent contractors, and that's another problem. There were so many consistent issues, and they were just just shocked on the phone, and they're like, there's so many issues, and they thought that they had it all taken care of. Nobody was helping them with estimated tax payments. Again, their bookkeeper, they thought that they had a proper bookkeeper. They thought that, this bookkeeper was just doing everything that she was supposed to be doing. And they got an unexpected tax bill. And that's how you know that your bookkeeper is not really doing everything. And not only that, when we reviewed the accounts for the, in Xero, we saw several accounts were not reconciled. The ending balance was incorrect. There were so many things that were incorrect, and it was kind of embarrassing to ask who's doing your books, because the bookkeeper clearly didn't know what she was doing. And all of this time, the business owners, the partners, thought that everything was done the right way. So it's just an eye opener, and a lot of business owners really need to be aware of who is really working on their bookkeeping. What is the payroll person really doing, and what are they responsible for? So you can't rely on a VA, someone that's overseas, to help you classify expenses. You can't do that. You can't expect a payroll software to make sure that you're legally compliant, and you can't have a CPA that is not with you all year round to make sure that you're paying your taxes quarterly. When you have multiple people in your finances, then the risks and the mistakes are going to be so much higher. And guess who's going to be going crazy? The business owner is going to go crazy. The business owner is just going to be upset, frustrated, and end up overpaying in taxes Now ask me, was anybody helping them with estimated tax payments? Nope. Was anybody helping them with making sure their compensation is reasonable, even though their payroll, they were never supposed to be on payroll. Their payroll is absolutely incorrect. They need to go back for the past 2 or 3 years and undo everything they were doing. And that is such a headache. Like, who has time for that? And everything. Now they have, like, you have increased IRS red flags because you need to amend those returns. The IRS may be saying, now you're going from a $100,000 payroll to zero because you're a multi-member LLC and you were not supposed to be on payroll in the first place. The one thing that a lot of business owners are missing is guidance. Okay. You could have the best bookkeeper, you could have the best payroll service provider, you could have the best CPA. But the one thing that I'm seeing consistently, there's a disconnect between these multiple departments and there's no guidance. Nobody's saying, hey, you need to pay estimated tax payments and this is how much you need to pay. Nobody's saying, hey, you need to hire your children and let's, hire your kids to reduce your taxable liability. Nobody's really giving them tax planning ideas before the year ends. And when you have multiple people in your finances, you end up overpaying in fees, you pay more taxes, and it's just becoming frustrating because you're speaking to multiple people, assuming that everybody is communicating, everybody is really talking to one another, and they're not. Nobody is talking to one another. Nobody. The payroll service provider doesn't know what the CPA is doing. Obviously, they're doing financials. The bookkeeper, I guess, is just doing a data entry. And when the bookkeeper submits the bookkeeping to the CPA, they're not going to check the bookkeeper's work. They're going to assume that the business owners hired the right bookkeeper and everything is done right until you get audited. And now they're going to, dig deeper. The next, Amazon seller that we spoke to was same thing, single member LLC. Actually, with that one, it was a multi-member LLC. It was a husband and wife, and they thought, oh, I should be an LLC. That's the right thing. The CPA said that, that's what they should be. Again, they issued payroll to themselves when they were not supposed to. Their PayPal was filed incorrectly. And they were just so frustrated. They've been jumping from CPA to CPA because the local CPAs promised them that they know how to do, e-commerce accounting. They know sales tax. So they said that they're familiar with like TaxJar, and they weren't. They did understand that they needed to register for sales tax in their state. They did understand that they needed to they had Nexus, or they didn't know how to review reports on the Amazon dashboard and do multiple things. They were not familiar with it. And because of that, they got fines from different states. California reached out to them. Massachusetts reached out to them. And several other states reached out to them because they were not compliant. Now, again, the one thing that a lot of business owners are always afraid of is they want to make sure that they're paying the least amount of taxes and they are compliant with their bookkeeping, payroll, and taxes. And those are the 3 key pillars that every single business owner really needs to be worried about. If your bookkeeping is inaccurate, that means that you're not deducting every single thing possible so you can, legally pay less taxes. If your payroll is not accurate, then you may not be compliant because now the IRS wants to see all of your returns. They want to see that you're paying yourself a reasonable compensation, and you need guidance as to how much do you need to pay yourself? Should you pay yourself on a W-2? Should you pay yourself on distributions and etc.? You need guidance. You don't know what you don't know. And a lot of e-commerce sellers, they come to us and they're just not familiar with, and they're, not familiar with anything. And they are assuming that their CPA is just going to guide them. And when we get on the phone with them, we ask them, are you, did you pay yourself on a W-2? No. Did you register for Department of Labor? No. Did you, register for TaxJar? Did you register for sales tax? No. And they're like, how come my CPA never told me about this? And the number one reason that I could think of is because if your CPA is not really experienced in e-commerce, then they may not know every single department. So if your CPA does not do bookkeeping, or if some CPAs don't do payroll, they don't do taxes. Some CPAs do taxes, but they don't do payroll, or they don't know the rules with sales tax and Nexus. And that's like an extensive education that we took in order for us to learn we have extensive experience doing that because we have a lot of e-commerce sellers that we're helping. I just want to make sure that a lot of business owners there are aware of what they need to do when you're making at least even if you're not making any money, you just need to really understand what your responsibilities are. And what I would recommend, the one thing that's going to really help you get rid of all these problems and issues is really having one company do it all for you. You need to have, like we do, we're a CFO, virtual CFO service where we offer, bookkeeping. We send you monthly reports. We process your payroll and give you guidance as to how much your payroll should be. Or if we need to register with Department of Labor, we will do that first. If you need to have workers' comp insurance for your employees, we will let you know and say, hey, you're about to have your employees on payroll. Go make sure that you have workers' comp insurance. Then we give you guidance, and because you would have never known that you needed workers' comp, you would have never known that you needed to do Department of Labor registrations. How would you know? You don't know that in order for you to file or register in other states, that you need to register with sales tax in different states. So if you don't know, you don't know until you start getting these fines from different states, and it gets really scary when you get IRS and state notices. And now you're looking for help. So in order for you to prevent those issues and have an unexpected tax bill at the end of the year, you really need to make sure that one company does it all for you. So what we do is, we do bookkeeping, we process your payroll, we give you guidance on your payroll, we help you with sales tax, we help you with estimated tax payments so you don't have a large tax bill at the end of the year. We help you with your individual returns, we help you with your IRS notices, your state notices, and your entire accounting department. Think of, Geico or a huge company, and they have an accounting department, and any question that you have, you get a notice, or you get a tax bill or whatever it is, you reach out to your accounting team before you make that payment. And that's what we do for our clients. Now, there was another client that, came to me a few years ago, and this is the last horror story that I want to share with you. He was 86 years old. He was being harassed by the IRS. He had an unexpected tax bill of over $200,000. And I remember speaking to him, and it was a very old voice, and I was in my office, and he found us on Google, and he said, hi, I got an IRS notice. It was years ago. So he's like, I'm calling so many accountants. Every single accountant is telling me that I need to make this payment, but I don't know. He's like, Rachel, this is not me. I didn't really... it doesn't make sense that I didn't make all this money. Something is not right. I don't remember exactly how much he owed, but I know it was more than $200,000. So I said, you know what? Do me a favor. Let me call the IRS and find out what's happening. So I filed a power of attorney for him because I'm licensed by the IRS. We filed a power of attorney. I called the IRS and I said, it was tax year. I think it was 2008. But he called me years later because he was getting IRS notices and he didn't think it was real. So I called the IRS, filed a power of attorney for him, and the IRS is telling me that he had a W-2 for $400,000. It was a crazy amount. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy lied to me. How could it be? And because that's what the IRS said. He had a W-2 for a huge amount. So I call him on three-way with the IRS and I said, hey, I have the IRS on the line and they're telling me that you had a W-2 for so-and-so. I don't remember exactly what the amount is. And he goes, that's fraud. It can't be. It's not real. And then we noticed something different. And I said, hey, the address is incorrect on the W-2. And he said, what address is it? It was an address in Texas and it didn't make sense. So I said, oh my God, this could be identity theft. It could be fraud. Somebody probably filed a W-2 under his name. So he says, yeah, it could be fraud, whatever. We looked into it. More detail, and he was a victim of identity theft for that year. Somebody filed a return. It was a W-2 from Texas, and we ended up helping him. I don't remember exactly what the amount is, but it's crazy to understand how an IRS, they just send you bills. You need to verify the amounts, obviously, especially if it's $200,000. But you want to make sure that you have an accounting team to help you, and you're not afraid in any way when you get an IRS notice because you have a solid team behind you to support you. It took over a year for us to help him because we needed to prove, we need to send the IRS documents, but nobody needs to have so much stress. And in the meantime, he lost his wife and, he had to pay for her cancer, cancer pills. It was just so bad. It was just horrible. And then his son had a heart attack, and he's still alive, thank God. Calls us all the time and says, hey, I want to give you a testimonial. He just checks in on us and sees, we built such a relationship with him. We helped him so much. Meanwhile, all the other accountants were like, just pay for it. We can't help you, and etc. We have so many stories like that. I have like a lot of stories where clients come to us and they're either skeptical or they get this IRS tax bill, and when you don't know what you're doing, like some accountants in New York City, they'll just give you a standard answer, and it may not even be 100% accurate. You want to make sure somebody that's giving you proper advice is able to call the IRS, find out more information, and then give you solid advice, right? It's like a doctor. How can a doctor really give you any advice without drawing your blood work or taking your blood work and reviewing your blood results and then letting you know exactly what you need to do based on the blood results? Nobody can really prescribe any medication without reviewing your blood results, right? Same thing with accounting. You need to review the entire situation before before anybody really advises you. And this guy got like a ton of bad advice. So a lot of business owners, just be really careful who you trust. Make sure whoever you go to is licensed by the IRS. I had another client who was a franchise. I think it was actually, no, it's not a franchise owner, but I think they had like 2 or 3 stores, and their assistant was stealing $500,000, and their CPA actually went to jail because he didn't tell her about all the cash withdrawals, and this person was like paying for her own bills through the business account. And I mean, that's a huge horror story. They wanted me to testify against the CPA and all that. But you need to really understand who you are trusting your finances with. You need to make sure that they're licensed. And the reason that I bring that up was because all of this time, my client thought that her accountant was a CPA. And when we did a whole investigation on him, he was not a CPA. He was just, I don't even know what he was, but now I don't think he's here. I think he's in jail. So just to tell you, like, there are just a lot of people out there that call themselves accountants, and you could be doing accounting for 20 years in the audit department. It has to be relevant to exactly what you're doing, and you need to find somebody sharp and someone that can help you specifically with your business, who has experience in every single department that you need help with. Like I mentioned before, bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax, corporate returns, individual returns, IRS and state notices, payment plans, estimated tax payments, tax planning, and just so much more. 1099s, filing 1099s, and so much more. If you don't have one person that can do all of that for you, then you're basically in trouble, especially if you're making $10,000 to $15,000 on a monthly basis, and especially if you're an Amazon seller, because a lot of these accountants don't even know how to reconcile PayPal. So, if you have any questions, let us know what your questions are. I 100% want to help a lot of Amazon sellers, specifically with virtual CFO services. We have, over, I would say 1,000 clients now that we prepare individual returns for, and we are helping consistently. Our emails, we get like 150 emails a day. So if you need help, let us know what you need help with, and we will help you with whatever you need. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day, guys. Bye.